New tonight, an Our News exclusive. A man files a civil suit against the police chief, claiming malicious prosecution. And the corruption trial of an embattled MP set for this Monday. This as a Court of Appeal rejects arguments over constitutional rights to a fair trial. Plus, in tonight's Work in Progress segment, we've got a check on the number of potholes being patched in New Providence weekly as residents report sightings. Then, in Our News at 7:30, Beating the Heat series continues with tips for a cooler drive. Natalia Hall shows and tells you how to make it happen. Our News Live at 7 starts right now. Welcome to Our News Live at 7. Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Kendino Knowles. A man is seeking damages after he was allegedly beaten while in police custody, and now he's claiming malicious prosecution. Berthany McDermott spoke with his attorney and has this exclusive.
Bradshaw Demerit is filing a civil claim against the Commissioner of Police after being acquitted of robbery. During the acquittal, it was revealed Demerit was allegedly beaten while in police custody. His attorney, Ramona Farquharson Seymour, says the civil suit is for malicious prosecution and the physical abuse while in police custody. They're hoping to force change.
If more persons say, no, I'm going to hold your feet to the fire, I'm going to pursue you. And if their suits are successful, you're hitting the Commissioner of Police in the purse. Hopefully where it hurts, they're paying damages, and that will then force change.
Demerit was unanimously acquitted before a jury of 3 men and 6 women. His attorney says there was documented evidence that her client was beaten, adding that 2 years of his life was lost due to this ordeal.
It's constant, particularly in very serious claims such as murder and armed robbery. It is constant. You'd be amazed. Always some claim of confession, be it verbal or written confession. We are just plagued with it in the Bahamas.
Claims of police abusing people while in custody is nothing new. More recently, a man claimed police beat his brother while at the Central Detective Unit. National Security Minister Wayne Munro has said he does not believe there is a culture of forcing confessions in the Bahamas, but Farquharson Seymour doesn't seem to agree.
We would hope that, dealing more on forensics, going into a crime scene, looking at blood splatter, someone coming forth to say, I have a report. I believe it had this amount of velocity. I believe this person would have been right-handed, left-handed. Looking at the evidence, the scene itself, and that tells a story and interpreting it. We're not moving to that at all.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Berthany McDermott.
All right, thanks a lot, Berthany. And we are also learning the National Security Minister is set to testify in the case involving the prison commissioner who was sent on leave. We'll have more on that coming up in Our News at 7:30. And the corruption trial of embattled Long Island MP Adrian Gibson is set for this Monday. This as the Court of Appeal rejected arguments over constitutional rights to a fair trial. Gibson and his co-accused Jerome Mizik and Joanne Knowles had argued that their rights had been breached because they were denied the chance to choose whether they wanted a trial in the Supreme Court or in the Magistrates Court. But the appeals court found the argument had no merit, paving the way for the trial to begin before Justice Cheryl Grant Thompson on Monday. Gibson is accused of receiving $1.1 million in kickbacks from contracts awarded by the Water and Sewage Corporation while he served as its executive chairman. He's also charged alongside former Water and Sewerage General Manager Elwood Donaldson, Peaches Farquharson, and his cousin, Rashay. And investigators are tonight still probing 2 separate shootings yesterday that left a 31-year-old man dead and 2 others in hospital. The first incident happening just after 3 p.m. through Dean's Lane, or Dean's Alley, that is, off Market Street. Now, reports say 2 men were having a conversation when the occupants of a white Japanese vehicle approached them. Police say an armed man exited that vehicle and opened fire on both men, shooting them multiple times before escaping. Both victims were taken to Princess Margaret Hospital in a private vehicle. Police say the first victim suffered injuries in the upper torso, back, and right arm. He remains in stable condition. However, the second victim was pronounced dead on arrival. And an hour and 15 minutes later, police say a 17-year-old boy was shot in both legs while standing on Quarry Mission Road when he was approached by occupants of a Champagne Nissan vehicle who escaped traveling west. The victim was taken to Princess Margaret Hospital. He remains in stable condition. Well, all right, we are now in the second month of the Atlantic hurricane season, which thankfully has produced no real major storm threat to the country, but various entities still stressing the need for disaster preparedness. The Adventist Development and Relief Agency is one of them, and they're helping residents take the necessary steps to ensure they are ready. ADRA Country Director Henry Monker.
We have partnered with the Ministry of Education and some of the schools, as well as some private schools, to develop what we call a disaster risk reduction course to begin to help to train our children, 7th to 9th grade, in terms of what is involved in a hurricane, in terms of the whole aspect of being able to mitigate some things that you can do, so that we could begin to develop a culture of preparedness in our country. And if we could do that, it would begin to help us make sure that when these disasters do come, we may not necessarily be able to stop them, but we could be able to mitigate the consequences and the results in the aftermath of the destruction that may come our way.
Well, the agency has been key in helping residents throughout the country in disasters. It's something Monker says the agency takes pride in, but he's still strongly encouraging preparedness.
We're in hurricane season, and the reality is it's not if it's going to happen, it's when. So one of our things is we want to help persons make sure that you're prepared. Make sure that you get packing now. Put your emergency preparedness kits together. Put your disaster kits together. And if you need any assistance, if you need some help with that, you could call us at ADRA. We're willing to come in to help you in your community, in your agency, so that we could have a prepared Bahamas this season, so that as we go through the season, we're able to come out the better for it at the end of it.
All right, and from hurricane preparedness to this scorching heat we've been feeling the past few weeks, research now shows that extreme heat is actually deadlier than hurricanes. The United States reporting extreme heat as the #1 weather-related cause of death in the U.S. and kills more people most years than hurricanes, floods, and tornadoes combined. Our Beating the Heat series continues here at home tonight. Our Talia Hall, she'll show and tell you about some things you can do on your daily commute. Meanwhile, the heat certainly sending many of us to the beach, prompting a message of swim safety from the City of Freeport Council. We'll have more on that in a moment, but for now, it looks like we'll be having a whole lot more days for beaching in the forecast. In the Weather Center now, with your first look at temperatures, is meteorologist Greg Thompson. Greg?
Yeah, thanks, Candino, and a happy Friday evening, everybody. This is the end of the weekend. Of course, it is hot. And if you plan on doing any beaching, make sure you drink lots of water. It's going to be extremely hot out there. Temperatures are going to be in the low to mid 90s, and those feels like temperature will be in the triple digits. So try and get some shade, drink lots of liquids, mostly and mainly water. It's going to be the name of the game for the weekend, as we still have some Saharan dust across our area. Outside our studios right now, though, it's 86 degrees with a few clouds. It is humid. Your winds are out of the south-southeast, and it's bringing in that warm air mass at 7 miles per hour. That's making it feel like a very warm 94 degrees. Temperatures around the islands tonight, it is 87 in Freeport, Alistown, Bimini, over in Great Harbor Key and in Nicholstown, 86 in Marshall, Barbago, Governor's Harbor. Central Bahamas, we pick up 87 in Kemps Bay, 85s, Georgetown, Exumas, Cat Island, Coburn Towns in Salvador and in Deadman's Key, Southeast Bahamas, more 85s popping up there with Duncan Town, Ragged Island, Colonel Hill, Cricket Island, Electable Bay. You guys are at 85. 86 in Abrahams Bay, Matthew Town, Inagua. And the warm spot, Turks and Caicos Islands, Providenciales, you round out our temperature profile at a very warm 87 degrees. Satellite and radar composite, we do have a dry air mass across us, and that's going to be with us for the next several days as the surface ridge of high pressure dominates our weather. We also have that Saharan dust in place. That's going to keep things rather dry, but it is going to be very hot. And once again, if you plan on doing any beaching for the weekend, make sure you drink lots of liquids, try and stay some shade, and keep an eye on those little ones if they're out there in the water. A couple of spotty showers near the northern Bahamas, but we don't expect much in terms of any significant weather tonight through tomorrow. That's your first look at weather. Stick with us. A look at your extended forecast is still to come.
Still to come on our news, Work in Progress is back tonight with a check on the weekly number of potholes being patched in New Providence. And Focal launches its Smart Pass mobile fueling app, how it's expected to make your trip to the pumps a whole lot easier. But first, good news for Bimini as its passport office set to open this Monday. The story when our news returns. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs announcing the Bimini Satellite Passport Office will open on Monday in the George W. Weish complex. A statement from the Foreign Affairs Ministry says Monday's opening is just a soft opening where the Passport Office will conduct routine network and systems testing. Bimini residents are advised that all passport services will be available during this time. The hours of operations are from Monday to Friday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. The ministry says it will announce the official opening ceremony at a later date. Well, Senate President Michelle Adderley admonishing senators to stick to the topic in yesterday's meeting of the upper chamber, but it did not stop Senators Ruben Raming and Quinton Lightbourne from engaging in a shouting match when Raming set to address a matter brought up by Senator Darren Pickstock. Take a look.
We have to stay on track on what we are here to debate today. The Speaker, the President has not given you any authority to speak right now.
Senator Raming, I'm going to deal with it. Senator Raming, resume your seat.
Not to me, to himself.
No, we are here to discuss some other bills. Okay. That's all we want to do for the we are doing the people's business. I just asked. I let you go on for 5 minutes.
You don't let me do anything.
Senator Raming,
you have to listen.
Order.
You do not let.
You are talking on a bill. You are going for something else.
Senator Raming, the chair cannot address this. Senator Raming,
talk about the people's business.
You are supporting
5 minutes. Nothing but saying to the bill.
Senator Lightbourne, resume your seat, please.
Now, senators were debating legislation that would help the Bahamas be removed from the European Union's blacklist. Now, Senate President Adderley restoring order and reiterating her stance.
I'm allowing Senator Raming latitude to address this issue. It should not have been brought up, but I have to be fair to both sides. Since the issue was brought up, I have to be fair to both sides and allow him to address the issue. So once he is finished, I'm going to give him another 2 more minutes to come back to relevance, but we have to be fair to both sides, and he has to address the issue. Should not have been brought up. I agree with that.
All right, well, we've heard about how Alive Fiber is bringing households and people up to speed with new technology, and now the head of service delivery for Alive's B2B department tells our Marlena Leonard how businesses can benefit in this report.
Service delivery for Alive's B2B department, Taro Davis, says businesses have a lot to gain from the new fiber technology and saying the faster network speeds and productivity can help make businesses more competitive.
Alive Fiber is more reliable and faster than regular broadband internet. That helps businesses be able to do a lot more on their networks, such as video calls, cloud computing, transferring data. They'll be more productive in doing what they need to do as far as getting on to their networks. With that being said, they'll have higher upload speeds, higher download speeds, and that'll make their work go much faster.
Davis tells us Alive Fiber equips businesses with a future-proof infrastructure with speeds that can encourage businesses to be more innovative with their tech choices.
Alive Fiber will help them grow their digital needs with advanced technology. Alive enables businesses to explore new opportunities and embrace digital opportunities.
And in a climate where many are concerned about crime, Davis says fiber speeds can help strengthen security efforts.
With steady internet, that allows you to connect to your camera systems, and you could also monitor from outside of your homes. So because you have a steady internet, you won't have to worry about drops or missed footage on your camera system.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Marlena Leonard.
All right, thanks, Marlena. We've been telling you about the Ministry of Works' ongoing pothole patching project, but just how many potholes are actually being patched on a weekly basis? We've got the answer in tonight's Work in Progress segment.
Residents have been diligently reporting potholes in their area, and the Ministry of Works has been hard at work fixing them. But what is the cause of the issues? General Manager at Bahamas, Ryan Raming, explains.
When you have water settling, you weaken, the formation of the limestone, and due to point loading, you have, stresses that's experienced through the substructure, and therefore you got failure of the subbase. And when you have failure of the subbase, the asphalt is a flexible structure. it moves to whatever, it conforms to whatever structure that's beneath it. So if the structure beneath it fails, then the asphalt fails, and therefore, you have a pothole.
Baja Mix primarily deals with road paving and surfacing, but Ramming says they've joined the ministry's pothole patching program.
What we've done on the 11th of this month, we've surveyed 23 of those main arteries that I told you about, and we've discovered 118 potholes. So between the 11th and the 15th, we covered 118 individual patches over those 23 roads.
And as it pertains to the ongoing paving program, he says they're currently tackling 12 roads.
Woodland Way, we have Lincoln Boulevard and the inner city planned. We are doing night paving on East Street South. We have a current paving program that will address most of the poor conditions that you're experiencing or discussing right now.
Reporting for Work in Progress for Our News, I'm Jamila Missick.
When our news comes back from the break, we turn our spotlight to stories making headlines across the world as India police under scrutiny after women were paraded naked in ethnic clashes. Plus, a U.S. judge rules the classified documents case against Donald Trump will proceed next May. And from the region, 5 people killed in a mass shooting in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, what authorities have found in the initial investigation when our news returns. Welcome back to Our News. We turn our attention now to stories making headlines across the world. Questions being raised about the efficiency of police in India after 2 men were paraded naked by a mob of men in Manipur, the incident sparking global outrage. Residents are questioning why it took police so long to act when there was a complaint lodged just days after the incident, especially when there was clearly identifiable footage. Senior government officials say the delay was due to the small size of the Manipur police force. Local women took matters into their own hands when they burned the house of one of the alleged persons who dragged the women onto the streets. A U.S. federal judge has set a May 2024 trial date for former President Donald Trump in the case charging him with illegally retaining hundreds of classified documents. The date is a compromise between requests from prosecutors to hold the trial this December and defense lawyers who are asking for the trial to be put off indefinitely until sometime after the 2024 presidential election. If this date holds, it would follow closely behind a separate trial Trump is facing for falsifying business records in connection with alleged hush money to a porn actor. The U.S. Department of Transportation investigating Delta Airlines over reports passengers were forced to wait on an idle plane in extreme heat. Now, the plane sat in the Las Vegas airport for at least 3 hours on Monday as temperatures rose as high as 111 degrees Fahrenheit. Multiple passengers were seen by medical responders and 2 others went to a local hospital. Delta says it has offered compensation and apologized to affected passengers. And a man dubbed the Easter Bunny by police has been sentenced to 18 months in prison for stealing 200,000 chocolate eggs. On February 11, 32-year-old Joby Poole stole $40,000 worth of Cadbury cream eggs after breaking into an industrial unit and making off with the haul in a stolen truck. He used a stolen tractor to tow the trailer full of eggs away from the industrial unit He pled guilty to theft, criminal damage, and driving without insurance. And now to the region, as authorities are on high alert in St. Vincent and the Grenadines following a shooting incident last night that left 5 people dead, including a 13-year-old boy. Officers say they responded to a report of a mass shooting in Kingstown. They say a group of people were in a club area when a vehicle pulled up and the occupants began shooting. Investigations continue.
Earlier this year,
Jamaica and United States governments have sought to downplay suggestions of a diplomatic dispute between them after reports say the two countries are at odds over diplomatic postings. Foreign Affairs and Trade Minister Kamina Johnson-Smith has dismissed reports of the dispute, which was reportedly sparked by a plan by the U.S. to post a diplomat in Kingston who is in a same-sex marriage. Milton Walker from TVJ in Jamaica reports.
Earlier this year, the United States government wrote to the Jamaican government seeking its approval for the married partner of a diplomat about to be posted to Jamaica and who is in a same-sex relationship to be given diplomatic immunity and all the privileges of a diplomat. It's believed the Jamaican government did not respond to the request in a timely manner. The US sent another diplomatic note demanding a response. The Jamaican government responded, rejecting the request. A senior government source told TVJ News, quote, that an approval of the request would mean Jamaica recognizing same-sex marriage, which is illegal in this country, end quote. Our sources tell us the US then responded, rejecting a request from the Holness administration to extend the stay of 3 Jamaican diplomats in our embassy and consulates in the United States. The US served notice that the trio must leave immediately after their 5-year diplomatic visa expires. This is in contrast to what now obtains, where extensions to diplomatic visas for Jamaican diplomats beyond the 5-year period would be routine. Among those affected are Jamaica's ambassador to the United States, Audrey Marks, and Consul General Oliver Mayer, based in Miami, who the Americans say must leave and return to Jamaica this year. It's not known what other diplomatic measures, if any, the US government might take against Jamaica in light of the government's refusal to grant immunity to the spouse of one of its diplomats. Milton Walker, TVJ News.
Still to come in our news, today in history, find out interesting facts about the day that was July 21st. Then in our news at 7:30, the National Security Minister set to testify in the case involving the prison commissioner who was sent on leave. The commissioner's attorney says it's not been easy for her client. Plus, an American man drowns in waters near Blue Lagoon Island. Investigators say the 46-year-old reportedly began experiencing difficulty swimming. Our news is back with the details in a moment. Welcome back to our news. A state-recognized funeral held for the late Dr. Gail Saunders today at Christchurch Cathedral. The service, attended by Governor General Sir C.A. Smith, Prime Minister Philip Davis, members of the opposition, judiciary, and law enforcement branches. Saunders, who was 79, established the Bahamian National Archives and was the director from 1971 to 2004. She also served as president of the Bahamas Historical Society from 1989 to 1999. She was a scholar in residence at the University of the Bahamas and was married to the late attorney Dr. Winston Saunders. All right, it's time now to turn our spotlight on events that shaped the day that was July 21st. Take a look. On this day in Bahamian history in 1992, Parliament was dissolved. It paved the way for the next general election that was held on August 19th that year. The Free National Movement won the election, in which Hubert Ingraham also returned for his second consecutive term as Prime Minister. Then in 2014, noted musician and former Coconut Grove MP Edmund Moxey died at the age of 80. Moxey was born on Ragged Island in 1933. Then Prime Minister Perry Christie in a statement said Moxey would be best remembered for his many years of fearless involvement in frontline politics. Moxey was among the group of PLP members elected to the House of Assembly in the historic general election of January 10, 1967, which ushered in majority rule. Moxey served in the House until 1977 and served as Parliamentary Secretary for Community Development from 1968 to 1971. In that role, Moxey began the development of Jumbe Village, which was designed to express the country's cultural heritage. And finally, in 2017, dozens of patients were wheeled out of Rand Memorial Hospital in Grand Bahama after a kitchen fire. Photos and videos had circulated that showed nurses escorting patients into the parking lot. The fire did not cause any serious injury. However, 2 staff members suffered from mild smoke inhalation. All right, well, swim safety, the message this summer. As kids are out of school and often spend lots of time at the beach, the City of Freeport Council, in fact, hosting its free annual Learn to Swim camp in Freeport recently. Swim instructor Catherine McLee, a former competitive swimmer in Canada, says the camp started with 275 children.
Swimming is such an important skill. It's not just a sport. It's not just a relaxation. It is a serious life skill. We're living on an island. We got to know how to swim. We got to go out and enjoy the water. This is one serious way of de-stressing by coming in the water when it's cooler and relaxing. Just being able to feel at ease in the water. Never mind what you can see underwater. That's fantastic. Swimming on top of the water, great form of exercise. Fabulous way to keep the kids entertained all summer long.
And Family Island Administrator Kenwood Cartwright had this message for parents.
Parents, we don't want our kids to be like some of us. We want our kids to be able to swim. In fact, parents, we also have a swimming time in the evening times where the parents can come and learn to swim. No one wants anything to happen to the child or for the child to be disadvantaged. Swimming these days is also a sport. You may want your child to be athletic, get out the house, away from the tablet, etc. And I think swimming, enjoying a little fresh air, a little breeze, and a little bit of pool water is good for a child's development during these summer months.
All right, some good advice there. Now, to watch that story again and for all of today's top stories, visit ournews.bs. That does it for us in News at 7. Joining us now is Atalia Hall. She's got the latest headlines. Atalia?
Yes, Ken. Well, Barbie, it premiered last night. I'm looking forward to it. I may not make it out tonight, but
I saw some of the reviews. Yeah. But I meant to say, I was really happy to see that Barbie had named Black scientist recently. I don't know if you remember that story we had in World News. She's the next Black Barbie. So that was interesting to see.
Very interesting. And Barbie has been around for a while now, from I was a little girl. I just think back on all my dolls. So I'm looking forward to the movie.
I'm also looking forward to seeing that piece you did today about keeping your car cool. That looked quite interesting.
Yes, I got inside the engine. And so, stay tuned, 7:30.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, thanks, Ken. Well, the National Security Minister to testify in a case involving the prison commissioner. And Barbie, the movie, premieres. Here are your latest headlines.
An unfortunate death. First tonight on Our News Live at 7:30. An American tourist is dead after drowning in waters off New Providence. Plus, confident in our operations. That comment from the head of FOCO. This as BPL continues to recover following that major fire earlier this month. Also, how do you keep your car cool during these hot summer months? A local mechanic shows us some tips and tricks to help get you through the summer. And later, it's Pink Friday. That's the theme today as many prepare for Barbie the movie. An inside look at Fusion Superplex with Our News Live at 7:30 comes back.
If new, Heineken Silver was a riveting Viking saga.
Well, welcome to our news and thank you for joining us. I'm Natalia Hall. Topping news tonight, National Security Minister Wayne Monroe has sworn an affidavit in the upcoming court case involving Prison Commissioner Charles Murphy. His attorney, Ramona Farquharson Seymour, confirmed as much.
That's very rare, but he has sworn an affidavit, so that means that he will come himself personally and testify. So it's going to be interesting.
Back in October of 2021, Monroe placed Murphy on leave. The Office of the Attorney General made an offer to Murphy, but that was rescinded and a lawsuit filed against government. In a recent court filing, Monroe said he was not prepared to work with Murphy. Farquharson Seymour reasons it hasn't been an easy road for Murphy.
He has been accused of much wrongdoing. It's been made out as if he deserved to be placed indefinitely on administrative leave. It was said that there was going to be some type of investigation. That never took place. He was looking forward to that opportunity to clear his name, to defend his reputation. It seems as if none of that has come to fruition, and so we were forced to move and take the matters before the court.
All right, well, two men facing murder charges in separate fatal shootings. The victims were on bail for murder. Junior McGlory is charged with the July 16th murder of Orlando Curtis at the Bing nightclub in Fox Hill. Baron Finellis is charged with the murder of Fred Lloyd on July 11th. Lloyd was found shot to death inside a car on Blue Hill Road South. Now, both murder suspects made their first court appearance before Acting Chief Magistrate Roberto Reckley on Friday. They were denied bail and returned to court in October to receive voluntary bill of indictment papers. Well, a 46-year-old male visitor of Pennsylvania has died after he began experiencing difficulties while swimming in waters near Blue Lagoon Island yesterday around 11 a.m. The victim was retrieved from the water in an unresponsive state and transported to the Princess Margaret Hospital for further medical attention, but died a short time later. Work is progressing at the Fortune Bay Canal in Grand Bahama. According to the Lakaya Service Company, landside works in preparation for maintenance dredging and jetty repairs at the inlet to the Fortune Bay Canal are now complete and marine activities have begun. Now, repairs to damaged jetties in the area will take place until October between the hours of 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. Monday through Saturday. CEO and Vice President of the Grand Bahama Development Company, Cherise Brown, says she understands the significance of the Fortune Bay Canal to residents and the boating public, and adds that teams are working diligently to ensure that the work continues to progress safely. The BPL plant fire in North Andros has dominated headlines for weeks now, with the latest update from Works and Utilities Minister Alfred Sayers sharing that power has been fully restored. But along the way, there was a major hiccup as fuel transported to the island had been contaminated with water. This supply was provided by the Freeport Oil Company Limited. With the matter still under investigation, President and CEO of Focal, Dexter Adderley, says they are confident in their operations.
I am not aware of all of the details. What I can say is that Focal delivers millions and millions and millions of gallons on a monthly, annual basis. We are very confident in our systems and our processes. We have no doubt in our ability and the reliability of our systems and processes. And so, but the Andrews matter is a very unique matter, and we are assisting BPL with their investigations.
All right, and a little later, we'll tell you all about the new Focal Smart Pass that's expected to make your next fuel up a whole lot easier. As our summer series continues, the question has been asked, how do you stay cool in your vehicle this summer? Well, I spoke with a mechanic who's been in the business for decades, and he's sharing a few simple tips that can make a big difference. Let's take a look.
Owner and operator of Ace Tech Auto, Dion Ferguson, has been in business for some 20 years. He says if it's extremely hot once you get into your vehicle, it's important to put all of your windows down to let the hot air out.
A good practice, if you have a visor, would be to put a visor straight across the windshield, and you know, of course, crack the window, not all the way up, so the air could actually circulate. I mean, that's a good way to start.
And I got an inside look as to how the air conditioning system works under the hood of a car.
Whilst the vehicle is actually at a standstill, that's why the fan is there for the air conditioning, because you don't have that ram air hitting on the condenser whilst you're driving. So it needs to keep the condenser cool, and the way to do it is through the fan. So if you don't have a fan that is
Could
on,
you show me the fan?
well, this here has one particular fan, which is right here.
I see it. Yeah.
Right. That fan there, if it stops, you have the air conditioning on. Believe it or not, your air conditioning is going to stop working.
Wow.
As for how to keep your engine cool, he says preventative maintenance is key.
If you don't have a mechanic, find a good, reputable person where, you would have monthly services, depending on the amount of runs that you make. On average, 3 months, to be honest with you. You don't want to drive a whole 6 months to a year and not know what's going on.
I'm guilty.
And not know what's going on inside the hood of the vehicle. You need to know.
All right, well, some great tips there to keep your car cool this summer, but hopefully temperatures begin to dip soon. Meteorologist Greg Thompson is in the Weather Center with a first look at weather. Greg?
Yeah, thanks, Natalia. Another warm day around the islands as we are ending the work week. Temperatures manage to get up into the low to mid 90s, and your feels-like temperature in the triple digits. Once again, Saharan dust is in place. 86 degrees outside our studios, a few clouds, and it is warm. South-southeast winds bringing in those warm temperatures at 7 miles per hour, and it is making it feel like a very warm 95. Satellite and radar composite, nothing much happening across us, just some spotty showers across the northwest Bahamas, Grand Bahama, the Bimini area, and even the Abaco, seeing a couple of those. But dry air mass and that surface ridge of high pressure will continue to dominate our weather for the remainder of the work week and into the weekend. And we are asking you to make sure you drink lots of liquids, as it's going to be very hot for the weekend. That's a quick check on conditions around the island. Stick with us. Look at your weekend forecast is still to come.
Still to come on our news, traditional hotels and resorts are not the only options for travelers. This, as a top industry executive says, the Airbnb market has taken off. Why he says it's not affecting the hotel industry. Plus, a unique summer camp for children underway in Grand Bahama. Our Jamila Mizik will tell you all about it. And if you're planning to watch Barbie the movie, you may want to purchase your tickets soon. We'll tell you why when our news continues. For those of you that have traveled before or plan on traveling, the Airbnb option may be at the top of your list. And with a growing number of local Airbnb listings, one may wonder how the market affects the local hotel industry. Well, Joshua Williams tells you how it does or doesn't.
Travel has been the name of the game this summer for people around the world. And while there are those who still opt for the traditional hotel, many choose to tap into the Airbnb market. This new venture, according to Bahamas Hotel and Tourism Association President Robert Sands, does not affect the hotel business locally, but in fact helps to fill the gap.
That has helped to raise the tide in totality for tourism numbers in the Bahamas. Hotels are enjoying very high occupancies this year, and Airbnbs, quite frankly, are filling the lull and helping to allow us to attract even larger amounts of tourism to the Bahamas.
For Sands, however, a proper protocol system is important.
The opportunity that exists, though, and the Ministry of Tourism is working on this, is how we can manage, regulate, register a number of these Airbnbs in the Bahamas to ensure that the standards, safety of these entities are being addressed, and also that the government gets its fair share in terms of VAT from these entities.
When asked if the new tourism trend affects the hotel business, Sands said this.
We are coexisting, and the only additional opportunity that we have is that we have to see the impact on the amount of airlift that will be coming into the country, because we're able to forecast better with the hotels through the Hotel Association. We are much more organized organization, so we're able to forecast better. But certainly, yes, it's a very important part of the tourism mix in the Bahamas.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Joshua Williams.
The financial services industry is the second leading industry for the Bahamas. However, it is one that is highly competitive and scrutinized by the international community. Leader of opposition business in the Senate, Darren Hanfield, noting that for consecutive administrations, the Bahamas has had to constantly adjust its laws to remain compliant with industry best standards.
For 23 years now, we've been reminded today. We've been struggling and fighting this fight. This means that we must constantly consult with the industry professionals and practitioners toward bringing their businesses incorporated in the Bahamas into the best possible fighting form to capture their share of the international market. I'm advised that their marketplace offers lucrative opportunities in areas associated with things like venture, capital, and real asset investment strategies, like real estate, private debt management, private equity management, infrastructure, and energy management.
Now, senators were debating the International Business Companies Amendment and Exempt Limited Partnership Amendment bills. Hanfield says these are the areas in which the Bahamas must compete to bring in revenue. To this end, he says legislators must constantly adjust to make it easier to do business in the Bahamas. But he admits there remains a, quote, proverbial 800-pound gorilla in the room, end quote.
We are regularly forced to compete with one hand tied behind our backs. And the powers that be are left to go free and do whatever they feel like doing. I'm also advised that there's but one country in Europe that has one step ahead of us in compliance. I don't know how true that is. One. We're on the same level. We're on the same level. We're on the same level with this country, and they're never blacklisted.
All other European countries
they're never impugned.
Chairman of the Organization for Responsible Governance's Economic Development Committee, Herbert Edwards, says for every dollar spent, 20 cents goes to pay debts in this year's budget. Edwards is no stranger to analyzing our national budgets. This year, however, he says his focus is on the macro level impact of the budget. Edwards points to one of the statements made that spoke to weaknesses in our economy when we were last downgraded.
Bahamas, in order to avoid downgrade going forward, must demonstrate its ability to secure additional revenue and to become sustained in reducing its expenditure. If you take a look at the budget, and we often look at budget presentation in terms of 1 year, my advice to you is you look at every single year which is projected on that document all the way to 2027. And everything which is there today communicates that the Bahamas is intending to reduce its deficit and then move into a circumstance of surplus.
Edwards, who was speaking at the weekly meeting for the Rotary Club of West Nassau, says being in a surplus will help the Bahamas manage what he considers our most significant challenge for the future, paying off our debt.
For this particular year, that represents 20% of total expenditure. So for every dollar which is spent, 20 cents goes to pay the cost of debt. 20%. That is significant in a budget which is $3 billion.
Focal Holdings Limited launched their new Focal Smart Pass mobile fueling app. The Smart Pass is a free smartphone app that allows customers to pay for gas at the pump without having to go to the cashier. Managing Director Clinton Roll briefly shared some of the benefits of the app.
With Focal Smart Pass, gone are the days of waiting on long lines, fumbling with cash, or going into the store to pay with your card to refuel. Our easy-to-use app will allow you to pay for your fuel directly from your smartphone, saving precious time that can be better spent with family or making strides in your professional lives, all without leaving your car.
This app takes a bit away from the physical need of you having to leave your car to pay for your gas or sending one of the employees. President and CEO of Focal Holding Limited, Dexter Adderley, stressed that pump attendants will still have a role to play.
They are the heartbeat of our stations, delivering exceptional service day in and day out. Their smiles, their helpfulness, their readiness to go the extra mile for our customers are some of the qualities that technology simply cannot replicate. The Focal Smart Pass is a tool for our service champions.
When our news comes back from the break, moving away from traditional summer camps, the Freeport City Council offering unique activities for your little ones.
A star athlete is headed to Howard U, and we bring you the latest scores from the Babe Ruth Caribbean Tournament. Stick around, our sports is coming right up.
I'm a Barbie girl in a Barbie world. Does that phrase bring back memories? Well, Barbie, the movie is here. You may want to hurry up and get your tickets.
If new.
Doctors Hospital is reimagined primary care. We have invested to improve our health system, ensuring that accessible, affordable, world-class clinical care is closer to you. Your relationship with a primary care provider shapes the foundation of your overall health. Our new, modern primary care facilities are where critical diagnosis and true personalized treatment begin. With locations across New Providence, Grand Bahama, and Exuma, we invite you to experience the Doctors Hospital difference. Book your next appointment at clinics.doctorshos.com.
This is our news. Welcome back. Schools are closed, and that means summer camps throughout the country are in full swing. Tonight, our Jamila Mizik tells us about a series of unique summer camps we're trying over on Grand Bahama.
It's summertime, and while some youngsters will be indoors, others are finding fun ways to enjoy their break from school by attending summer camps. The City of Freeport Council hosts a number of unique camps annually, and Chief Councilor Fraser Gibson says their aim is to move away from the traditional summer camp.
Specialized in distinct camps that is beneficial to the child and their need. And so we have the special needs camp that is ongoing, but it's concluding on Friday. The swim camp, we had a dance camp, basketball, baseball, and field events camp.
She shares the importance of creating that balance for the youngsters.
They don't get to use the cell phones because they're busy learning how to swim. And so with baseball, field events, there's no gadgets. There's outdoor activity. They're getting the play. Their heart is beating well. They're getting the cardio that is necessary.
We spoke to campers Judah Rule and Renari Dames, who say they're happy to spend their summer outdoors.
The camp is very exciting. And it's good for if you're bored. We've been learning how to field, conditioning, running the bases, how to hit, how to throw the ball.
We also found another interactive camp that Pine Ridge Councilor Edwin Strawn says will teach the campers basic cooking skills.
How to use a knife properly, stuff like that, proper seasoning and stuff like that, and also how long you could leave out the food before you get poisoning and salmonella and stuff like that. So we'll be talking to them on the knife skills and mostly the health issues that relates to cooking.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Jamila Mizik.
Today's sports update is sponsored by Michelob Ultra, distributed in the Bahamas by Jimmy's Wines and Spirits.
Two elite track and field athletes are heading to Howard, and we recap the Babe Ruth Caribbean Championships. Here's Tage Adley with a check on sports. Tage?
Thanks, Italia. Hello, happy Friday, and welcome to Our Sports. Earlier this week, we reported that Carifta medalist Otto Lang is headed to Howard University. Lang's Carifta teammate Adam Musgrove will join him and run for the Mighty Bison, according to his coach. Coach Deron Lightburn announced the national double champion Adam Musgrove is headed to Washington, D.C. to attend Howard University. Musgrove, the country's under-20 champion in the 100 and 200 meters, says the decision was made in consultation with Coach Lightburn and his family, and that Howard's stellar academic reputation was taken into consideration. Musgrove's training partner Otto Lang announced on Wednesday that he will be continuing his education and track career at Howard as well. It's always great to see young athletes excel and take their talents to the next level. Moving on, we're in the dog days of summer. That means sun, sand, and baseball. The Babe Ruth Caribbean Tournament began yesterday. The hometown heroes were in for a roller coaster ride. The Bahamas boys under-12 baseball team began yesterday's Babe Ruth Caribbean Tournament in dominant fashion with a 27-0 win over Cayman. Things would go much differently for them later in the day when they lost the 6-5 barn burner to Cuba due to a slow start and some early errors which allowed our neighbors to take the lead in the fourth inning. Pool play for the tournament should be wrapping up about now, then it's on to the knockout rounds over the weekend. Be sure to check our website and socials for the latest scores from the tournament. Our boys played the Netherlands and Jamaica earlier today. We'll get you those scores as soon as we can. That's a wrap for sports for the week. I'm Tage Adderley. Have a great weekend.
Still ahead on Our News tonight, Fusion Superplex expecting a full house tonight as Barbie the movie is at the theater. Why you may want to grab your tickets now, straight ahead. And another warm day around the islands as we get ready for the weekend. Greg is back in the Weather Center with your weekend weather planner when Our News returns. Stay with us.
Welcome back to our news. It's Friday. I'm so excited and the weekend is here. Are you making any big plans? Well, Greg is back in the Weather Center to tell you what type of temperatures you can expect. Greg?
Yeah, thanks again, Natalia, and welcome back, everybody, for our final look at weather. Of course, we are battling with some Saharan dust that's keeping some dry conditions across the area. Also, there's a surface ridge of high pressure in charge, and that's going to continue to keep us with a little bit of a breeze, but we expect those winds to fall off tomorrow, 10 to 15 knots. Caution flags will be discontinued for most of the islands. But that ridge of high pressure, that Saharan dust, is going to keep temperatures in the low to mid 90s. Triple-digit indices expected. If you plan on doing anything on the outdoors, make sure you dress accordingly and drink lots of liquid and make frequent breaks. Take frequent breaks from that exposure to sun. The remainder of the satellite picture, basically the tropics we're going to be talking about. Dawn is still out there. Dawn is a 50-mile-per-hour tropical storm still churning out in the open Atlantic, pulling towards the northwest. Eventually, it will be making that turn towards the north by early next week and eventually making it into some cooler waters, and that should be the end of Dawn. The National Hurricane Center also watching this little blob down there. Tropical wave that's moving towards the west has about a 30% chance for formation, but it will continue to stay towards the south and move towards the west, south of the Bahamas. Future forecast showing very dry conditions across the area. Some spotty showers, as I mentioned, across the extreme northern islands. And that's it. We are going to dry out through Saturday. A couple isolated showers expected. And then by Sunday, much the same. Most of the activity will stay well to the north of our area. Boating forecast for the northwest Bahamas tonight through tomorrow. Your winds will be out of the south to southwest at around 10 to 15 knots, seas running 2 to 4 feet over the ocean. Your high tide will be at 11:13 tonight. For the central and southeastern islands, east to southeasterly wind flow at 10 to 15 knots. Wave heights running 2 to 4 feet over open waters. Here's a look now at your national forecast. In your extended forecast for the weekend, mostly sunny. We are going to see those temperatures get near the the low to mid 90s, and those triple-digit indices continuing. Maybe get some showers in the forecast on Monday, but the stretch of warm weather will continue as we still have some Saharan dust in place, and that ridge of high pressure will continue to stay in place across our area for the remainder of the weekend and into early next week. That's a look at our weather. Make it a safe night, and have a great weekend, everybody.
All right, thanks, Greg. Well, if you haven't bought your tickets for the Barbie movie as yet, you might want to do it soon. A Fusion executive telling Our News they expect to be booked out. Fusion's co-founder and chief legal officer, Takoya Bridgewater, says they've decked the Superplex out in true Barbie world style.
We have the decorations that are done by our internal marketing team. As you can see, the theme is pink right now, and I'm also wearing my shirt representing. And then we have other memorabilia that's going to be presented, I think, tomorrow, as well as we have a nice life-size Barbie surprise that the younger generation as well as the old generation come and take photos with. So it'll be an event.
The first showing was last night, which the executive tells us was completely sold out. When asked what he expects moving forward into the weekend,
I think that we're going to be booked out. When we look at the demand, we have a lot of the younger generation as well as the older generation who grew up on Barbie, just anticipating coming and watching the new iteration of it, because it is actually a comedy, but I think it's a little risque, but I think that it's going to be both for the younger and the older generation.
Definitely looking forward to that. And with that, we thank you for joining us for Our News tonight. On behalf of the entire team, I'm Natalia Hall. We'll see you tomorrow night. Have a great evening.